Hi, everyone. You've made it after the night before. Welcome to this talk, Rehoming Your Mac Admin, a guide for Mac admin adopting an Apple estate. So for those who don't know me, I'm Darren Wallace, and I'm a senior IT systems engineer at 10x Banking. I've been working for with Apple devices for around 18 years now, I think, last time I counted. I'm also one of the organisers for London Apple Admins meetup group, and you can find me Slack, Twitter, Mastodon, most things as Daz_Wallace. And today, I'm here to talk to you about rehoming your Mac admin, providing a short guide on how to adopt an already existing Apple estate as a new Mac or Apple admin. This talk will be focused mostly on my own journey and personal experiences, and as such will be leaning towards a more Jamf-biased opinion, but could equally be applied to other management solutions. I'll be covering briefly my own background, some background of the situation of the estate I joined, recommended areas of focus and timelines you should try and aim for, ideally, suggestions if you're in the opposite situation, if you're looking to leave, and a summary just to bring everything together in case you fall asleep halfway through. It was a long night last night for some people. So first of all, some background, aka trying to cover up my own imposter syndrome. For those who don't know me, I've worked with Apple devices since 2005, starting out as a hardware engineer with AMSYS. I moved into Apple administration and consultancy with AMSYS in 2009, picking up skills in deployment, managing devices, along with learning various tools such as Jamf, Deploy Studio, Monkey, and that old golden triangle, Cylinder of Destiny. Around 2013, I started working on MSP services with AMSYS, then Moof IT, and finally with DataJar, growing my skills and my experience, as well as helping plenty of organizations along the way. And after 12 years or so working externally with customers, I managed to make the jump to in-house IT, and this move has become the basis of my talk. And the company I moved to was 10x Banking. 10x Banking is in the fintech sector, providing services direct to banks since around 2016. We're UK-based, but we do have a worldwide presence, and we have around 500 employees. The background specific to the Apple estate, so we utilize Jamf Pro for our device management, and this has been in place since roughly the beginning of the company. It's had a few but different administrators over that time, including both external people and internal people. And aspects of the solution are complex, but overall things are working very well, and mostly due to having to maintain support for devices in the field, whilst also trying to maybe change the management style from administrator to administrator. And documentation is a little lighter than I'd like, but there is quite a bit still. And those that have worked with me know that I'm a bit of a stickler for documentation, so my standards are very high in that regard. And finally, some constraints over what I can and I can't do. So devices cannot be wiped outside the usual attrition and redeployments. Users should have minimal to no disruption due to any changes that may be made. And most importantly, things have to actually work and work well. So with the background out of the way, which areas should you concentrate on if you're in this situation? And at what stage of your rehoming should you be looking to work on these areas? First day. What should you look to do on your first day of your job? New job, even. This lovely beauty. Strongly, strongly recommend that you get the expiry date of the Apple Push Notification Certificate in use for your MDM solution. You should be able to find this in your management solution or in the Apple Push Notification Certificate portal if you have access. I'd strongly suggest recording this in some sort of team calendar, as well as your own calendar, with a reminder set 30 days before it expires. Why is this important? Well, if you allow it to expire, expect to have to re-enroll all of your Apple devices. Otherwise, you won't be able to push out any new management changes or request any management-based information back from them through the MDM protocol. In most cases, this will probably involve wiping them as well. Great way to make friends, that one. And great way to impress the new boss when you've just started. There are some rare instances where you can get away with letting this expire and being very quick at sorting it out. But I mean, you're playing with fire there. I really wouldn't suggest that when you can just as easily chuck a calendar reminder in. Next up, more expiries. I'd suggest recording the license and or activation code and expiry for those things for any management solution and related tools that you need for your estate. For example, you might have an activation code with an expiry for Jamf. You probably have, if you're a Jamf customer, you may well have Jamf Connect. So again, similar deal. If you have another IDP solution, again, best to get those noted down. The one benefit of these, though, is typically the vendor and or reseller will reach out to you to sort out a renewal before these expire. So that's one where you might be able to be a bit more blasé about, mostly because they'd like to take some money off you, which is fair enough. You're buying a thing. Last suggestion on that first day is, yes, more expiries. Grab the expiry date of your Apple deployment token, formerly known as DEP, and your Apple Apps and Books token, formerly known as VPP. Letting these expire doesn't often have an immediate effect, but will stop you making changes to your DEP settings or changes to your VPP licenses, respectively. Again, just chuck in a calendar so that you're reminded that they'll need doing. I tend to just renew these anyway at the same time as the push certificate, just because it keeps it all in a sort of sync on that one. Right, you've made it through your first day. What else should you try and look to get done in your first week? At this stage, I'd suggest getting an overview and an understanding of the full setup. Spend some time digging into the back end of your management solution. Is it cloud hosted? Is it self-hosted? Is it self-hosted and on-prem? Are the distribution points or software repositories cloud-based? Or are they cloud-based, but you are actually responsible for them, such as an S3 bucket? Or are they entirely on-premise, like a traditional file server? Once you have this information, find out which parts are supported by which teams and what their contact details are should things go wrong. Is it a company support desk you need to call? If yes, which company or companies? For example, Jamf Cloud, it would be Jamf Support. How do you get hold of Jamf Support? Is it a dedicated internal server management team? Again, if so, how do you get hold of them for support? Is it you? Once identified, get these things recorded in an easy-to-find place. These also form the basis of an emergency run book in the event of an outage. You're not scrambling when you can just be contacting the people, getting these things in quickly. I realize I should be clicking the button while I'm talking. The curse of having animations on a slide. Next suggestion for week 1 is to make sure you have access to all the things you need to support the solution. Vendor support. So with Jamf, you have to be registered against the organization's account. So you can either do that by having someone who's already registered, email success@jamf.com with the person on CC. They also have a section on id.jamf.com for able to add other users to your account within Jamf. For push certificate access, since the ability to renew your push certificate is tied directly to a single Apple ID, make sure you can access this and check it's the correct ID, including MFA. Access to Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. You'll need these for the device token enrollment, the device enrollment token and the apps and books tokens. And you either need to be a full administrator or both a device enrollment administrator and a content manager. The first one for the ADE token, the DP token, and the second one for the apps and books token. Lastly, and I think this is an important one, spend some time working the service desk. This is a great way to gain an understanding of the company itself, what tools they use, and how people work. It'll also let you see what sort of issues and challenges users are having, and how you might be able to offer longer-term solutions, more proactive solutions to those issues, rather than just telling them to restart their Mac over and over again. Right, what about your first month onwards? This is where you can really start to get your feet under you and contributing back to the department. Start documenting everything you can. Anything you've had to spend time picking apart to figure out about a solution, anything you'd like to have easily to hand in the event of a high stress or major outage. And don't forget to document for when you're not there. I'll cover it a bit more later on, but this should allow you to take leave without risk of urgent problems that only you can solve as an SME. Subject matter expert, if people haven't heard that acronym. I'm trying to avoid acronym soup, but I'm not doing particularly great. And lastly, document for tired you. Document for times when you might be run down. You might be unwell, tired, or even hungover. These future users will be very, very thankful for this information. But what about different types of documentation? Well, consider management solution-focused documentation, e.g., this policy A does X, policy B does Y, profile C does this for something else. This is handy for when you're looking at an admin console and not understand the role of a very specific component. It can also help other colleagues understand the greater impact of making a change to a single aspect of a solution. Consider workflow-based documentation. This is helpful for getting a full picture of all of the moving parts within a specific solution. This could be something like the deployment process from start to finish, including all the various steps. This could include me skipping the wrong slide. Sorry about that. It could include the device hardening process, including any profiles and scripts required. Or even manual processes, like how would I go about delivering a talk where I put too many animations in, including going into things like how do I appropriately change a user's name should they have a name change in all the various services, applications, their own internal devices, that kind of thing. Don't forget about end-user documentation. This can help to avoid questions and uncertainty with your users, and inversely help them to flag unexpected changes or issues preemptively. For example, if they're onboarding a Mac, what should they expect to see? They see something they're not expecting, they'll contact you and go, okay, great, that Mac didn't go through automatic enrollment for reasons. How good's your internet? Can we wipe it? What should the user do if they encounter a specific issue? If it's a common issue that you can't necessarily resolve? I mean, software updates seems to be the topic of the hour, when it kept booting to recovery. We had to knock up some documentation for our users about contacting us urgently and knocking up a workflow that they had to follow to get back into their Macs to get them patched. Where users can go to obtain additional software. So instead of just going to a random website, where can they go to get it through an approved mechanism? And this also allows your support teams to understand what messages or screens a user might be seeing when providing support when maybe they can't have remote access to that device. And lastly, don't forget your high-level documentation. This often builds on the other three types, but sacrifices more detail for an overall view of multiple components to provide a more general understanding. Think of this like a TLDR or a quick reference sheet, and to prompt team members or users through various processes, or just to get a high-level understanding when they don't need to know the nitty-gritty. Consider the correct form of documentation for a specific task. Not everything needs or indeed should be a text document. Sometimes a table, technical diagram, or an abstract process flow diagram would serve much better. Sometimes it's even worth repeating the same information in multiple forms to ensure that the meaning is understood. My personal target for documentation, as I think I've mentioned already, is to keep it simple and easy, so if I'm sleep deprived, ill, or in the very, very rare cases where I might be ever so slightly hungover. As mentioned before, future me is always thankful for past me's looking after me for that. When working documentation, be aware of assuming the knowledge and skill level of those that may follow it. Where possible, assume little to no knowledge, and consider linking out to further sources to obtain some of those baselines of knowledge when writing your documentation. Have another co-worker or a peer review that documentation and offer suggestions for any improvements or missing items. Whilst working through this list, don't forget to build a list of changes or improvements you might want to consider making. Then you can then take that away, review that with your manager or peers at a later date. So you're kind of taking the opportunity when you're writing this documentation to go, I could automate that bit. I'll make a note of that. I'll come back to that later on. So as part of this process, don't forget to take backups. If you're running a self-hosted or an on-prem solution, take database backups as well as API exports. If you're running on SaaS, look to take as many API backups as you can. Richard Troughton has some great blog posts on this, and there's also the JSS Migrator free tool for if you're a Jamf customer, it can take API dumps and dump them into XML files for ease of use. I also recently found out that has a command line option, which I'm going to look into a bit further to see if we can do some sort of automated API dumps, maybe submit into a Git repo, etc. You can do some really cool things with that kind of stuff, just to automate the backups so you've just got them in an emergency. And again, as said, this is important. It can help out your documentation just by having those files there, nice and easy. But also gives you an emergency rollback. So if someone accidentally deletes the wrong thing, you're not looking at an entire database rollback, hopefully. That's never fun. So now you've been with this place a little while longer. All being well, you're nearing the end of your probation and are showing good value to the company and a desire to make things better. There's one area that both managers and risk departments love, and that's crisis management and response. Take the time to look through your documentation of your systems. Think of any single points of failure. This could be hardware failures. This could be a bad configuration change. This could be a security issue. It could even just be a junior who didn't understand what they were doing and accidentally clicked the wrong button. It happens to the best of us. Once you have your scenarios, try to figure out how you would respond to each one, what impact would likely be, and what workarounds you might be able to implement. These will form what's known as runbooks. Some runbooks may only consist of confirming the issue, sending out employee comms, and then reaching out to the vendor. It could also be to instigate some sort of disaster recovery process or some sort of alternative solution. Once you've got these written up, I'm not skipping far enough this time. Once you've got these written, get them reviewed by your peers and your managers, and if you're lucky enough to have one, your risk department. These can save you stress and disruption in the event that they're needed, and it can even prevent those late nights or calls when you're on leave, that kind of stuff. And don't forget, as you're going through these processes, to make notes of anywhere you may be able to improve or do better, and add those to your to-do list. Month 3 onwards, time to take your list of changes and get it documented fully. I told you I like documentation. Where relevant, group your changes together into larger projects. However, still try to keep each manageable and focused. For example, setting a naming convention across a bunch of different policies could be a single little item. But reworking the entire deployment workflow, probably better off splitting it into smaller chunks. Document the why, or the need for each area of change. Personal preference for a change is fine, but you need a better reason if it's something that's going to take considerable time to implement. Also consider your fellow admins who've managed the solution before you. The reason you might want to make a change can be valid, but avoid insulting the current solution and or implementation. You don't know the reasons or the constraints the previous person was working under. You never know, they might be a new coworker or your new manager. For each project or task, reasonably document the steps you would take to make the change, as well as how you might roll it back should it all go wrong. Think of this as your get-out-of-jail-free card, saving time and worry should something break. Consider detailing the success criteria of the work, so everyone is on the same page as to when the project or phase is complete. This will help you avoid projects and changes being left in sort of a half limbo of, is it done, is it not done? All this will form both the business case and, for most people, all the information needed for a change control request. Turns out they do actually have some value. So once you've got your changes documented, next step, as with all of these, is to get it reviewed. I'd start by suggesting a peer review as a first step. It allows someone who might not be as close to the change or as close to being a subject matter expert as you are to give it a sensible once-over and offer any suggestions. I've had many silly mistakes or assumptions picked up by a colleague on this step. Next, if relevant, security review. The last thing you'd like to do is to make a bunch of changes only to realize that you've made your estate less secure as a result. In my personal experience, the security team are often interested in anything technical anyway, and would be happy to give it a read. Lastly, have your manager review the requests. This allows them to get an idea of the change, pull in other team members from across the business as needed, if needed as well, and to get an understanding of your workload and priorities as you see them. This could result in some work being postponed or even dropped entirely, but it's better to find out before you've started getting into the weeds with something. Most importantly, don't forget about your end users. Is any of this work going to change expected behaviors or pop-up messages to them? If so, be prepared to draft communications via email, perhaps instant messaging solutions like Slack or Teams, or even desk visits. Right, month 4, time to do some actual work. Do your best to work on one change at a time, testing as you go. It's better to make one change and hit an issue than it is to make a whole bunch and then figure out which one of those may have caused the issue. It could even be multiple ones. As you go, try to keep some track of your progress. This will allow you to pick up and drop things as other priorities come in and will let others see your progress easily. Jira, Zendesk, Microsoft Planner, and wiki pages are all usable examples at various price points and features. Hell, even a spreadsheet or a notes page is better than nothing. Oh, don't forget to update your documentation to reflect your changes. Last thing you want to do is go for a run book in an emergency and find out it's completely wrong. So, we've gone over a lot to do when joining a new organization, but what about if you're handing in your notice and you're looking to move on? What can you do to ensure a smooth handover and avoid those calls after you leave? Probably guessed it, documentation. Ideally, treat your notice period as a brain dump for all the things you never got down to writing down and documenting yourself. Start off as much as you can at a high level. Concepts and key components can be detailed, but leave out the full nitty-gritty for the moment. Record the expiry dates of anything that has them. Push certificates and those tokens again come immediately to mind. Store securely the login credentials for any shared system accounts. Again, the APNS certificate, Apple ID immediately comes to mind. Write down any support contacts, internally and externally, including how to get hold of them and what things they kind of cover and support. Document those runbooks, as we covered before. Better to have those to hand in an emergency rather than having a previous employee call you up in deep trouble. Lastly, time permitting, write your deep dive documentation. Start with the most complex and or least obvious solutions and resolutions that might be needed for your estate. What about training? Again, time permitting, try to train up someone else on the team who isn't leaving, ideally. Otherwise, there's not much point. Coach them on the basics of the setup and the common resolutions to problems they may encounter. Try to make sure they know where to obtain any assumed knowledge or vendor-specific knowledge and any special requirements that are needed. Oh, documentation I spoke about, also quite helpful here. Regardless if you're leaving or not, I'd like to say a little thing just about job security. Do what you can to avoid being the single point of failure. Share your knowledge and skills amongst your team, especially those showing an interest and a willingness to learn. This may feel like you're losing job security by sharing your unique abilities and skills, but you're actually demonstrating a higher ability that is much harder to come by. The ability to educate others, share knowledge, and make better other areas of the business. You're making yourself indispensable by making yourself dispensable. Oh, and to be honest, selfishly, the more people know how something needs to be done or how it works, the less likely it'll be you that has to do it. So, great when you're busy, on holiday, asleep, those kind of things. So, short and sweet, but I've shared a lot of information and opinions in a short space of time. How best to summarize that? So the too long didn't read or didn't watch. Get details of any expiries now. Do not wait. Confirm you have access to the systems you need before you need them. Document as much as you can. Document for past, lesser skilled you. Any juniors or people covering you will be very thankful. Always back up all the things. Constantly. Never stop backing up, because that will save your bacon more times than I care to say. So this talk is primarily based on my own personal experiences, but these are built-in experiences and tales of others. I'd suggest the following talks and books if you wish to delve in further. I've got each links of these attached to a blog post that should be going up shortly, if not already. And the QR code, I 100% promise, goes to where it should do. I haven't done any sort of Rick Astley shenanigans this time. So this one is Robert Hammond. Did a massive, really good talk about his experiences and lessons when moving to another employer. Again, he's another Jamf administrator. From memory, he had the advantage that he could wipe devices, which does make it a lot easier in some areas, but not as user-friendly. Penn State Mac Admins 2015, a very old one, but a great talk from Rich Troughton on documentation. And he's got quite a few blog posts around that sort of subject on his DeFlounder blog. Two extremely old AMSYS posts by me, they're still up. apparently written by a person called Amsis, but they are mine, I promise. My thoughts and opinions on documentation. Yes, I managed to squeeze 2 blog posts out of it. And the last one, very old but very good book, covering time management but focused on systems administrators and engineers by Thomas Nimicelli. Really, really worth the read. It is a bit self-helpy, as you can imagine, being a time management kind of book, but it is focused on engineers, system administrators, how they cope, interruptions, that kind of stuff. Right, I do have one more thing, so I'm going to come back to this slide. So, are you an Apple admin or manager near London? You got a cool talk idea or a space to host a meetup? Let us know using this. It's a Google form. It will go into our bucket of London Apple admin cat herders, and we will reach out to you. We are always looking for hosts. We're always looking for speakers. We are London-based. We have done a few from remote deliveries from people, so don't have to be in London. It is a bit easier if you are, but it's not a requirement. But yeah, please reach out to us or speak to myself, Steve, Neil, Graham, or Ben Toms if you're interested. I do have London Apple admin stickers as well, so if you haven't got one yet and you want one, let me know. But yeah, so blog post might be live now. I haven't got a nudge, so I don't know if it is, but it is, sweet. You can see the link above, which will have links to all the things I spoke about. Thanks again, listen to me ramble on. This time I've been given a microphone, so I think there's someone else to blame for that one. Any questions? I love it, no questions, it's brilliant. Makes my life a lot easier. Anyone at all? No, no. Yes, sorry.
Thanks, Daz. So you said at the start you're not allowed to wipe devices.
Outside of your usual like redeployments or devices getting replaced because the users complained it's too slow and things like that.
Right. So what's the rationale? Like, I don't go around wiping devices randomly, but like if somebody's
You didn't see Raoul's talk where they did it on stage? I'm not going to do that here, don't worry. It's too much work. So I guess the main advantage of being able to wipe a device is you can just spin up an entirely new management stack, have it all configured exactly as you personally might want it, and just move people to it. Right. So it kind of adds another constraint of trying to change maybe how things work or maybe add an improvement that would be disruptive. So it adds an extra layer to make sure that you need to support both ways of doing a thing simultaneously without causing the CEO, whoever, to screw up the presentation in a board meeting. That hasn't happened to me, I promise.
And is this policy in place because they've been burnt in the past?
No, not at all, not at all. It's just our users like us. I don't know how rare that is. It's not something I want to put to the test unnecessarily. Although, I think I spoke to a few people anyway, but we're quite aggressive on our patching strategy, which has caused some interesting comments, but that's a story for a different day. That's a talk for a different conference. I need to put some submissions in. Anyway, yeah, so it's just trying to keep the goodwill, and I know if someone come to me and had to wipe my device and the reason wasn't like semi-good, I'd be kind of annoyed. I'd be annoyed anyway, but I'd be more annoyed if they were like, yeah, we just fancied wiping your device today. Cool.
Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? Got one over this side. I'd say throw the mic, but I'd probably get in a lot of trouble. So please don't.
Yeah, they're a little bit expensive sometimes. Hopefully an easy one. What software or software platform do you like for your documentation?
Is that something we're... Yeah? Probably not. It's a web-based solution. So it's basically a fancy wiki is probably the best way of putting it. But anything, to be honest. I mean, I've heard stories that... It might have been Rich Trant himself. I don't want to drop him in it in case it's not the case, but one of the reasons he has his blog is he uses it as his documentation outside of his work platform. So it's not got work stuff in it, but it's got more generic stuff. But his support staff who come to him, he can go, yeah, go check this out. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't suggest handwriting it in a book, but that's still better than nothing. If you're onboarding people and you want to make sure a load of steps are followed and you literally only have a piece of paper and a pen, that's still 100 times better than just going, what step did I forget to do today? That kind of thing. But yeah, any platform, it's normally dependent on your business as well. If they're using one particular product, you tend to lean to that. If they're using, I don't know, Microsoft Notes, Nope. What's the OneNote?
OneNote.
OneNote, yeah. If they're using that, which I don't like it personally, but if they are, then you can use that. Just as long as it's somewhere that people can access, need to access it. That's more important than the tool you use, effectively. Answer your question, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Although it's now maybe more curious about what you're using that you're not allowed to talk about.
We've got tablets, and we've got like a chisel and a hammer. It makes corrections really difficult. Cool. Any other questions? Right, well, I'm pretty sure I finished a little bit early. So I'll say the pub's open, but it's not. You're going to have a half an hour. Coffee's downstairs. Thank you all for coming and listening to me ramble. I need to stop because otherwise I'll carry on. But thanks. Cheers.